Hey guys, so today I have a really exciting guest on the podcast. His name is Vince, and he is a flight attendant, also an upcoming YouTuber. So, Vince, if you could just tell listeners a bit about yourself, that would be amazing.
Wonderful. Hello, everybody. Good morning, evening, afternoon. So my name is Vince. I am 22 years old. I am a flight attendant or cabin crew, as we say here in the UK, for a major British airline based out of London, meaning I travel all over the world, do loads of incredible things, and I also serve all the tea and coffee on board. But there's so much more to my job and everything like that, safety-wise and everything like that. So I hope, I can inspire you guys a little bit, tell you guys a little bit about what it's like to be cabin crew or flight attendant in this little podcast. And of course, a little bit of YouTube coming up as well.
Yeah, definitely. I'm super excited to delve into that more. So, going on to I guess your flight attendant stuff. Did you always know that you wanted to travel the world and become a flight attendant, or did you have like different aspirations when you were younger?
Yeah, so I think I always loved traveling. I think it's an incredible thing to do from a very young age. I mean, my parents, we moved all over the world. So I've lived in tons of different places for my dad's work. So traveling was always a very big thing in my family to do so and to go visit new places whilst we were there and explore. So yes, that aspect of my life has already been there since I was very, very young. And my interest in aviation started there as well when I was 5. I remember saying to my mum, like, oh, yes, when I grow up, I want to work on a plane. I want to become a pilot, just like every other 5-year-old wants to be. And it's eventually, I turned 18. I was doing school and college and things like that, which was almost finished. I was getting pretty much done with that. I studied international tourism. And I was like, you know what, there's nothing here on the ground that I want to do. I need to fly. So I had a look at some airlines and things like that. And eventually the airline that I currently work for was hiring. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to see what happens. I went to London very, very early in the morning. I literally arrived at Heathrow about 5 hours early, had 10 cups of tea, was shivering like crazy, did the entire interview. And then eventually, I eventually somehow got the job. I have no idea why still, 4 years down the line, but it's incredible. So yeah, that aspect, it's always sort of been there to want to fly and to want to do all these type of things and travel. Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's amazing how you had that mindset even from when you were younger, just like going for it, right? Even though you might have like had some like you were scared of like going, I guess, for it, but you still just went with your full force and you got it in the end, which is
Yeah.
amazing. So I love that. And I'd love to know just like more about like different things that have happened while you were working on the job. So who is the most famous or interesting person that you've met on a flight?
Oh, this is interesting because I mean, in my job, everybody's interesting. Everybody on board, all those passengers, they're incredible stories that they say. The reasons for traveling is amazing. I've got so many just of ordinary passengers as well. Like last year, somewhere I took a 96-year-old lady down to Durban. She was traveling all by herself to go see her grandson for the very first time, and she'd do that every single year. She was incredible, and we've got so many interesting customers with so many interesting stories. And if you look at the famous people, that's what everybody loves, of course, the glitter and glamour. Everybody's like, who did you meet famous? I've got a few very interesting names, actually. Of course, loads of British personalities from the news and stuff that you guys might not know. Famous comedian as well, Jimmy Carr is very big in the UK. I had him earlier this year, lovely guy. I've also had people like Tom Hanks, flying him to America. I love it. The people on the podcast can't see your face right now, but I'm gonna explain it. It's absolutely brilliant. She went like from a neutral smiley position, like what?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was incredible, and it was. I knew he was going to be on the plane, but I never knew that I was going to serve him because he changed cabins at the very last moment, and then I turned around to give him a drink, and it was like, hi, how are you doing? I was like, oh my God, Sheriff Woody. Yes, hello, hello, child. And I was like, hey, you're Tom Hanks. So yeah, he was phenomenal. I've had people like Elton John on board before. So many people. I've had prime ministers, royal family members, so many famous people. But yeah, it's incredible. It's insane to even think about. And they're all lovely, absolutely awesome people, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. I think people really overlook that. Like when you think of flight attendant, I feel like you're just thinking, oh, I'm just gonna be on flights all day. But I feel like people overlook the fun part of it, where you're gonna meet all these crazy, insane people like
Yeah.
Tom Hanks and British personnel. That's amazing. And still kind of keeping on this track of different things that you've experienced throughout this job. I would love to know what the craziest thing that has happened to you while being on the job.
Oh dear, that's That's such a tough question. I've got so many awesome stories because I'm almost celebrating my 40th anniversary of doing this job, and there's so many things that happen. But absolutely, one of the best stories that I've got from my job is I call it the Bangkok Conundrum. Um, so it was my first time doing a Thailand trip, going to Bangkok. I love Asia. It's such an incredible place to go to. And Bangkok in general, I've always been fascinated with Thai culture and history and everything like that. It's an incredible country. So me and a few colleagues of mine, we were like, you know what we're going to do is we're going to go out for a tour. Now, our hotel arranged these tours and they arranged it all for us. We're going to go to the floating markets, which are very famous. Some Buddha temples have traditional Thai food and a cookery class and things like that, which was great. So next morning was a 5 a.m. pickup. So we were, of course, you're a little bit tired, massively jet lagged because you just did a 12-hour flight to get to Bangkok. And then we got on, the hotel staff were like, yeah, this is your bus at 5 a.m. We were like, well, we don't really know. We'll just get in, you know, because it's early and we're tired. Let's just go in and sleep, because they said it's going to be about a 3-hour journey to get there. Fine. So we got on board and the driver said, yeah, we're just going to pick up a few more people from a few different hotels. Perfect. So we hopped around all over town in Bangkok for about an hour and a half, passed the same places like 3 or 4 times. I was just like, hey, I recognize that. And then eventually we started driving through this little bit of a dodgy area, it seemed. Things got shutters were closed. It was like, you know, that scene in a movie where you're like, yep, the security guard is about to get murdered now. Stuff like that. Or it's like that scene in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire where Voldemort murders the gardener. That was basically that scene. And all of a sudden, the bus just came to a halt. And we couldn't really see what was going on or anything like that. And all of a sudden, the door opened and someone just shouted in, was like, everybody get out now. We were like, okay, what's going on now? Is this some kind of emergency? So we walked out, and the first thing we find is just like this smog type stuff everywhere, almost like a bit of smoke. And about 50 of these little vans identical to ours. And I would say about 200 tourists, all of them. And they were all neatly lined up in about groups of 5 or 6. And we were like, what kind of thing have we signed up for? There was just people beautifully in line. It was almost like a military parade. You know, everybody was in line really nicely. And then all of a sudden they asked me like, yeah, where you going? I was like, yeah, we're going floating markets and some temples and a cookery class. Okay, perfect. Color code them blue, yellow, and pink. We're like, what? You're gonna give us colors? What's happening? So yeah, we got color coded on our t-shirts. They put these 3 stickers, so the 3 colors on them. And then we just stood there for about half an hour, and there was people moving and getting into vans, and vans approaching, and more people. It's a huge things going on, so many things. And then next thing we know, someone says, you go in that van. So our little group goes into the van. We're like, right, that's it. Goodbye. We're never to be found again. We're just going to, you know, we didn't really know what was going on. We didn't speak the language, couldn't understand what they were saying. We were just in this random place in Bangkok, having just been color coded and putting into little groups. And then we drove for about 3 or 4 hours through like the jungle and everything. But we were like, well, it's only meant to be a 2-hour journey. Where on earth are they taking us? And then we made a few series of turns, and we were like proper jungle. Couldn't see anything. We're so disorientated. We had a great time though. There was Americans with us and Germans. We were like having a party in our bus. It was great. They loved us because for some reason people like the British accent, so they were going mad about it. And then the next thing we know, we stopped. And again, they were like, everybody out, everybody out. We turned a corner and all of a sudden, boom, the floating markets were there out of nowhere. It was crazy. It was such a weird experience, but it was such a fantastic place. We rode boats on through the market. We made traditional Thai food. And we only got back until like midnight. So we were awake for so long, but it was such an awesome day, such an incredible trip. Yeah, that's just one of the very few stories I've got. I could literally write multiple books on just the insane things that happen on and off the plane and down route. It's awesome. Yeah, definitely.
Right.
100%.
Yeah. I can't even imagine, you know, like traveling all over the world, you have to encounter so many different things. And like
Mm-hmm.
being in a foreign country, especially Asia, that's insane, you know, having to be shipped and then think like, where am I? And being in a dodgy place, right? Like you
Yeah.
said. So like that's insane. But talking about food now, since you talked a little bit about like Thai food and how you guys made that, I would love to know what was the best like food or dish you've ever had like on your traveling experience
All
on the
right,
road.
it's time for some Gordon Ramsay action. I love food. For like people who are listening, I absolutely love and adore cooking and food. So when I saw this question to prepare earlier, I was like, oh my days, that's such a difficult thing because I am so obsessed with food, and especially all the different types of cuisines I have the privilege and honor to taste. But I think the one that stands out the most for me, and I am so terribly sorry to all the vegetarians and vegans out here, but it's the South African fillet steak. Oh, it's just like, if you love steak, honestly, go to South Africa. It's super cheap. Literally for about £10, $10, something like that, you could get half a kilo of steak, of fillet steak, and it's just prepared to perfection. The taste is something you can't describe. It just melts in your mouth. It's absolutely phenomenal, and I can't wait because I'm going to South Africa tomorrow. So, and I've not been since January, basically. So, I can't wait to have steak, and it's just, it's phenomenal. Honestly, if you want to get the best meal ever, go to South Africa. It's amazing.
Definitely, definitely. I will check it out if I ever go to South Africa. That's gonna be on my bucket list to do.
Yeah.
But so obviously you're going to all these different places, right? You just said you're gonna go to South Africa tomorrow. I would love to know like how you or what your sleep schedule is like having to juggle, so many different time zones and so many different places.
Yeah. Oh, I love sleep so much. It's just nice, especially when you do as many flights as I do. So having a schedule, it's just non-existent. I can't have a schedule. I'm always up and about at random times of the day. So I just did a night flight from Nigeria a few days ago, and that just ruins your schedule completely because you start at 10 p.m. and you don't finish until 6 a.m. and you're working the entire time. So it can really throw you off. So it takes a little bit of time to get used to. It takes about 6 months to find a rhythm that works for you. But what I tend to do is if I have a night flight, I will come back, and depending on how early it is in the morning, I will sleep for a certain amount of time. So for instance, if I arrive before 6 a.m., I will go to sleep until about 12 and actually get 6 hours of sleep, which is not the normal 8 hours that I would get, but it's quite a bit, and you'll actually feel okay, and you can go to bed at a normal time in the evening, which will put you back on schedule. If it's a little bit later than that, you'll just shorten it up. I usually tend to wake up at about 12 or 1 and then just sort of relax for the rest of the day and then go to bed at about 8 or 9, and that tends to work. But you really have to force yourself into that situation, which can be very tough. And I go through so much coffee on a daily basis. It's insane.
Definitely, but that's kind of refreshing to hear, because I think when I personally think of flight attendant, I think you guys are traveling all the time, especially since you aren't domestic. You're like traveling all over the world. I can't even imagine that. But it's refreshing to hear that you still get a good amount of sleep, like around 6 hours, I think you said. So
Yeah.
that's good to hear. And then like going on to your future plans, do you see yourself staying a flight attendant as a long-term job, or do you think you're gonna kind of shift towards a different job?
I mean, I absolutely love and adore my job. I think it's one of the best jobs in the world, and I'm not sure about that because a lot of people always ask me that. And I think for me, it's definitely a job that I would do for a very, very, very long time. I never thought I would like it as much as I do. It's literally I've got such a love and a passion for this job. It's amazing, and I do have many other aspirations. I would love. I mean, I have a few years ago run my own company. I'd love to do that again. And of course, I love being creative. So I love making videos and cinematography. So yes, one of my major aspirations, especially at the moment, is delving back into YouTube and things like that. So I'd love to do the side to side a little bit. I'd love to remain cabin crew and do that. And I'd also love to just expand my horizons and go create another business and go create a little community to just tell my stories and do things like that. So yes, I would definitely love to do it side to side. And in all fairness, it wouldn't surprise me if in 30 years' time I'm still doing it one way or another. 100%.
Yeah, definitely. And I think those go hand in hand because you do have like a lifetime of stories to tell from, all your experiences. So I could definitely see you doing that. Segueing into your YouTube channel, I would love to know why you just chose to start making videos instead of just being the viewer and watching them.
So with this one, it's for me going back into YouTube, really. I'm doing it again. So I started YouTube way back in 2012, I think it was, when I was 14. I ran a very successful vlogging channel, actually, that ran for about a year and a half, 2 years. And it got picked up by the school. The next thing I knew, everybody in school was watching it, which was absolutely phenomenal at the time. However, it made me creatively like, because I could see the direct reaction of everybody. I knew if I said something the next day, everybody would be able to see it at school, and that was a little bit too close to home for me almost. So I eventually stopped that, and basically I did about a year's break from the internet. Then I started a live streaming channel. Again, that went really successful for video gaming. That was mainly focused on simulation, but we brought a bit of comedy to it, and it also almost turned into like a talk show / podcast type thing, which was really successful again. But then I expanded my career. I worked in Disney for a while in Paris. I started doing this job, and it sort of stopped from there because it takes a lot of time, and it was every single day. So it took a lot of time and energy and effort, which unfortunately I didn't have anymore. And just for the past few years, I've really had that longing. I just wanted to go back to creating things and making people happy and inspiring them, because like reading people's comments was just so incredible to do. So that's something I really wanted. And then especially recently, I've had that urge more and more and more. And then I joined one of your guests, actually, that you had recently on Max Risinger. I joined his Perspectopia Discord a little while ago now. And one evening, I was just sat there chatting about like my trips and my travels and my stories, and I've got loads of them. And the next thing I knew, the entire Discord was full and just listening to my stories, which was very bizarre. And literally everybody was sending me messages like, oh, it's so inspiring to hear, and you should really start YouTube. And that sort of gave me that last final kick, like, yes, I want to do this. So I've been experimenting with it, making a few test videos here and there, which you saw one of them, actually. I sent them over to you just to get some feedback, getting back into the swing of things. And then I'm restarting it in October of 2020 again. When I'm moving to a new house, so it's a completely new chapter, and I thought that would be a very good time to just get back into it. And I'm so hyped, I'm so enthusiastic, I cannot wait. I really can't.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're going to inspire so many people. You might even inspired me just like listening to your stories, right? And that, yeah, just that you're able to travel so much just being 22. Like, I don't think once I turn 22, I'm not sure where I'll be, but I think personally my like track for where I wanted to be on life, I was like, okay, I'm going to go to college 4 years, and then I'm going to get like a day job, a corporate job at like, California or New York. And then I'm just going to stay there for 10 more years. But then seeing, that there's so many other paths to life, right? Like, and you can still enjoy your work, right? Without having to go the normal route. And I love just like seeing your perspectives, right? And seeing the different things you were able to do, and you're still successful and happy in your own way, which I love. So yeah, I think you're gonna inspire so many people with your YouTube channel, and I'm excited to see where it goes. My next question is, what message do you want like your viewers or subscribers to leave with after watching your videos?
Exactly that message what you just said, actually. I really just want to inspire people to believe in themselves and to know that, I'm only 22 and I've actually somehow managed to do this, which is insane to think about. It's like I've not really done anything special, so everybody can do my job. And that's the amazing thing, is everybody can be a flight attendant, everybody can do it, everybody can travel the world and get paid for it. So there's no reason, if you think like, oh, I want to try it, go do it. It's awesome. It's such a fantastic career. And that's exactly what I want to come across in those videos, is I want to show people like, listen, I'm traveling, and you could as well, go out, go do things, find opportunities to leave your house, explore. And my videos, I want them both to be set here at home in the UK, but also abroad, so that it's not only, because not everybody can be in the situation of being as fortunate to travel as much as I do. But I also want to show people how you can have so much fun at home, just in your direct area, and go explore and go do awesome things without even having to spend money or need loads of people or things like that. That's really the message that I want to get across, is to just really inspire people and make them feel confident in themselves, that they have the ability to do awesome things just by believing in themselves. Yeah, that's what I want to do.
Definitely. And going back to that kind of trend of inspiring, right? I want to know if there's any other YouTubers that have inspired your work or your content.
Oh, definitely. Yes, 100%. In both my current work and my previous work, I've always been very inspired by loads of different people. Probably my main source of inspiration for me, which is one of the very first YouTubers that I ever watched, and that I still continue to watch his old videos to his day, is Troye Sivan. I don't know if you know him. Yeah, a lot of people actually go, that's a very interesting one. He's become a very big musician now, but I followed him way back when he had just underneath 100,000 subscribers on his YouTube. So it's like the proper classic YouTube, and I just love his style of making videos and personality. And even though it's old, you still come back to it. And he's just such a lovely, lovely, lovely little guy, and so down to earth. And that's exactly how I inspire how I want to be throughout my videos and my style of things. I've got so many inspirations for everything. 100%. Yeah,
definitely. I remember that phase as well. I remember when I was younger, I was in that phase of like Zoella, him,
yes.
yeah, all of them.
Oh, you're bringing me back. You're bringing me back.
Yeah. So I totally relate with that. And it's amazing to see where he is now. You know, I think back then I would have never imagined that he'd be this huge star and have like millions and millions of followers. But I'm very happy for his success. But it's really cool, like you said, to see him from going from his roots to now where he is.
Exactly. And I think that's just so inspiring to go like, here's this person, teenager, making a video in his bedroom about crazy stuff, just talking to a camera. And then to make it this far with his talents and believing in himself, it's just, it's incredible. Yeah, 100%.
Definitely. So now moving on to your mindset more, because that's what my podcast is all about. This is definitely a deep question. So if you need time to think about it, I will give you time, and I totally understand. So what is your greatest failure, or what do you think you learned from it?
I think the biggest failure in my life that I've had is I listened and had other people influence decisions that I made, and having them hold me back because of it. And especially this was during my first YouTube channel, my first phase of YouTube. It's the moment it blew up essentially on my school, I started listening to them. I wasn't true to myself anymore, and I started making things that they wanted to see, and where I knew they wouldn't judge me and I would not, be forced out of a safe environment. So that was one of my biggest regrets and biggest failures that I've ever done, is to listen to people, and because of that they've held me back. And that's one thing that I really want to do now, is I want to have a certain idea, and I always love getting feedback and opinions and things like that to just make it better, because I think you can't have more opinion. Like, it's such a valuable thing to get feedback and opinions. It makes you better and stronger. However, you need people that can inspire you and pull you forward rather than holding you back. And I think that's, especially for me when I was younger, my biggest failure is to listen to those people, have them hold me back. Definitely.
I 100% agree with that, because I think I was going through that last year where a lot of my friends and a lot of my peers, it felt like they were pinpointing every single thing I was doing, and even what their friends were doing, and just gossiping in a sense about that. And so that kind of made me feel like, oh, I shouldn't start these things that I want to. Like, I had this idea for a podcast, right? But I was so scared to start it because I was scared of their judgment, what they would say, and if it fails, then they'd be like, oh my God, Anna's a failure, right? And blah, 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 blah. But now that I've just gone for it, right? I just went for it during quarantine. And I just said, there's nothing holding me back now, because I can't have any excuses, right? I can't say, oh, I have the SAT. Oh, I have school, because no, I don't have any of that. I just have this time. Yeah. And so I was like, I'm just going to go for it. And that has to be the best choice that I ever made, because that totally switched my mindset and showed me that, it doesn't matter what other people say, what their judgments are. If you are just true to yourself and what you believe in and what you want to do, and just go for it, that's the most you can do, and you're going to be successful in your own way, right, when you do that. Yep. And through that, I've been able to meet so many amazing people like you and Max and all these different people. Yeah. And
you're going to make me blush.
No,
we're only 25 minutes in. I'm already red.
It's so true, though. It's so true, because you guys have just gave me so many new perspectives on the world, because I used to just be surrounded by, people, like I told you, where I was going the route of, okay, I'm going to get a corporate job, right? Go to school for 4 years. And I never thought you could travel so much in the world just by being 22, where you are today. And that was just insane to me. So seeing your stories, that was just really inspiring to me personally, and seeing that there's so many other ways to live your life and still be successful in your own way. So I totally agree with that. Yeah. And my next question, it's kind of going back to your flight attendant job, but I would love to know if there was ever a time when you had to deal with a conflict while working as a flight attendant, and how you handled it.
all of the time. We have so many conflicts on board because, of course, you're trapping hundreds of people in this small metal tube floating up in the sky at 38,000 feet, which shouldn't really be possible. So conflict is going to arise. People are going to not get along with each other. Passengers, especially, things can happen. People recline their seats or something fell on someone, and a lot of them is with misunderstanding. But I've actually got a very good example about conflict, which was between myself and a passenger, which we get quite a bit. We get people who, like to have a drink on board, and this was a flight back from Singapore. And this gentleman had a little bit too much to drink in the terminal. He was let on with the message saying, like, okay, so you just need to calm down a little bit. Then he had a little bit more alcohol as well. It turned out he brought his own alcohol on board, which for us is very difficult to track because we keep an eye on how much everybody drinks on board to make sure that we don't create any problem situations. So eventually I sort of noticed, like, okay, he's having a little bit too much. He's becoming very rowdy, very loud. And it's all about, for us, a calm approach. Because if we're going to go like, hey, you're being drunk, just sit down and be quiet, you're ruining the flight for everybody. Yeah, that's not going to work. That's just going to create conflict. So I believe very much in just, it's a conversation. It's a two-way conversation. I'm not going to start trouble, and then he's not going to start trouble. So it's like, hello, sir, hope you're doing okay. Listen, just noticed, have you had something to drink tonight? Is everything okay? Yeah, he said, I've had a few beers. He was like, because he was asking me for another one. So I was like, okay, you know what? Let's, maybe see if we can find an alternative for you. We'd like have a lovely cup of coffee or tea or some water, just to get him onto a different path. It's like, no. I want beer and only beer. I won't take anything. I'm like, well, unfortunately, sir, I'm not going to be able to serve you any more beer for now. Perhaps later in the flight, because, we believe you may have had a little bit too much, and we're just here to keep an eye on everybody's well-being and safety, including yours. And again, this is all about the calm voice, because then he'll trust me and he'll, make sure that he'll listen to me, because that tends to help. You don't want to be shouted at all. And he doesn't really know what he's doing, of course, because he's intoxicated. So basically then afterwards he got a little bit rowdy, started shouting a little bit. He eventually started swearing. And that's the point as well, where for us, that goes from being nice and being friendly to, okay, we're going to put our foot down and say to here or no further. But again, very polite. So like, sir, please don't swear at me. It's not going to happen. You and I are going to have a little bit of a problem if you're going to keep on swearing at me, because then you're not going to have a good flight. I'm not going to have a flight. Nobody around us is going to have a good flight. Okay. Didn't stop, of course, which can happen. They can escalate. He had quite a bit to drink. So then he was just going a little bit crazy. Then we got an extra colleague with it, because of course, when things escalate, you need witnesses. We had other passengers as well, and people start filming. Of course, that happens a lot. And again, eventually I managed to calm him down a little bit. I'm like, sir, I'll tell you what, for now, for these next few hours, let's just keep it with tea and coffee and water. That works for you. That works for me. Then it's going to be absolutely fine. Perhaps later in the flight, we can revisit the beer quest. Okay. I'll make sure that I've got one or two cold for you, and then you can have a lovely, nice little cup of beer, and we'll get you like some snacks to go with that. How does that sound? And that was it. That was all he needed. A lovely little alternative, just trying to calm him down and make sure that nothing escalates, because that's the worst thing. You're trapped with someone. So if he starts hitting things or becoming really aggressive, you've got nowhere to go. You can't just run around the corner and go hide in your house underneath your bed. You're actually stuck with him. So yeah, it's all about a calm approach, being clear and concise, and making sure that you dominate the conversation, that you're in charge, and that he starts listening, but in a nice, polite, and calm manner.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I never thought of this, like you said, you're stuck with him for the whole like however many hours the flight is, because I think in customer service, like in retail stores, right, when you have like this type of situation, you're still able to kind of get away from it, because it's like you're not stuck with them in like that type of setting. But I can't even imagine having to deal with such a conflict, and like just trying to calm down the customer, not knowing how they're going to respond to what you're going to say. So I think it's really like respectable on how you handle the situation. Yeah. And now my next question, it's a little bit more positive, but I would love to know like how you just want to improve yourself in the next year, or just keep motivating yourself.
So I believe strongly in seeing every negative situation in a positive light. I like looking for opportunities rather than problems. And that's one thing that has really helped me over the past few years, just become happier and more positive. in my life and with everything that I do, because I did have a time, especially in my second year of flying. I mean, for me, the UK is a foreign country, so living away from my family, basically all by yourself with all your friends and stuff, quite far away, it's tough. It's not very easy, and that eventually just made me think very negatively, and I didn't really enjoy what I was doing. And then eventually I just turned it around and said, listen, let's try and see everything in a more positive light. And that helped me so much. And I just want to keep that upward spirals going, because I'm in such a good place right now. I'm so happy with everything. And it's just by thinking positive. And I would love to do that to other people and tell other people, like, you know what? Everything can be looked at in a positive light. Yes, something, horrible might happen, like this virus crisis at the moment. Like, that's not a very nice thing. However, what are some positive things about it? What can you use as an opportunity to make it good for yourself and to get the most out of this time? Because a lot of people are home. Do something with it, and that's one thing that I really want to bring across, not only in my personal life, not only at work, but also in my YouTube videos. 100% that, just think of happy things, every happy little thing,
Yeah,
and you'll
definitely.
fly.
Yeah, definitely. Like I think just having a positive mindset or being optimistic will help so much. Like I think people don't realize all the amazing side effects that come from it. Because I just watched this video where it was talking about how passivity can cause like laziness and being unmotivated and not having ambitions. Whereas like if you have this positive and optimistic mindset, even when you may be battling some obstacles or failures in your life, if you just have a positive mindset throughout, you can like get through it, right? And push through it and then see the optimistic or the opportunities that come from that failure or that obstacle. So I wholeheartedly agree with the answer. My next question is like, how do you keep yourself organized, right? Since you're always booking like the next flight. And I just want to
Yeah.
know like, yeah, how you just stay on top of things.
I love that question. I laughed so hard when I read that, because I am literally the least organized person in the world. I am awful. Uh, no, I do organize things. So I do put things in my agenda, but I work a lot with like post-it notes. So my entire wall behind me at the moment, behind my computer, is just all these post-it notes of things to do in a certain order, and I'll rip them off the moment I've done that. That's sort of how I keep organized. But because of my job and things like that, it's so, one moment, if you're on standby, you can get called wherever. We've got what, 400, 500 destinations or something. So many places you could go to. So you never know what's going to happen. So I'm always prepared for every situation. I guess that's sort of my organization, is just make sure you're ready for everything. And then you're always organized.
Yeah, definitely. I love the post-it like note idea though, because I think that's so like tangible and like physical. When you take something off, you just
Yeah.
like it comes off like of your burden almost like on your mind, if that makes sense. And so yeah, I love that. And I love how you have to have that mindset where you're like on standby and you have to be ready for whatever comes, right? Yeah. My next question is, was there ever like a person in your life who really inspired you or made a difference?
Yes, definitely. So many people have made such a huge difference on my life in a positive way. You've got, of course, like friends and family, but I think the person who's really made a huge difference in my life, and I don't really think he knows that, which is my best friend ever in the world. We actually met through the internet, which shows that you can actually meet really good friends through the internet. And I met him doing my very first YouTube channel and then my live stream channel. He's always sort of been there with me, but he's just been so, whenever I'm down in the dumps, he's always there to help and inspire me and make sure that everything is okay. He's very caring, and that's just great. It's I don't think really he knows how important he is to my life and how much of a difference he actually made. But yeah, definitely, that is, if I had to pick a single person, it would definitely be him. Yeah, 100%.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of time people overlook, how much their best friend or closest friend has impacted their lives. I know one of my friends, I think she's like literally my only super close friend. She's been through me when I was like at my lowest and when I was at my highest and where I am today. And so just being with me throughout that and helping me through it, right? Helping me
Yeah.
become a better person and me also doing the same for her. We've just both grown so much. And I don't think we, both realize how much we've impacted each other's lives. But yeah, I would definitely agree with that as well.
Yeah.
My next question is, do you go by any like personal mission statement or quote? And it can be like as simple as a slogan, like Nike's "Just Do It," anything.
Yeah, yeah. So I my own personal quote that I've actually got like taped to my wall. It's everywhere. It's on my Instagram, YouTube, everything, which is be positive, be happy, be kind, always, period.
Mhm.
It's so simple, but I feel it's such a powerful little sentence, and it's literally what defines my life at the moment. I want to be positive every single day. I want to be happy every single day, and I want to be kind to every single person that I meet, always, at every single point in my life. It doesn't matter what you do to me. I feel like this is my slogan, this is my statement. So you could be shouting and swearing at me. I really don't care. I will still always be polite and kind back, because I feel I could rather help you, because often people who are mean and shout and swear at you, they're misunderstood. And I feel by living to that slogan, my own personal slogan, it will just make me a better person, and hopefully other people as well. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's such a good like personal slogan or mission statement. If you ever sell like stickers, anything, like once you get your chance, like let me know. I will buy some. Like that's perfect. I love it. I love it so much because that's such a good message, and I wholeheartedly agree with that as well. My next question is like, what is your greatest fear, or do you even have a greatest fear or no?
Spiders.
Oh,
100%. Oh my God,
uh,
I am terrified. The amount of standoffs I've got with spiders. I literally had it the other day. I was actually on Max's Discord, on the Perspectopia Discord.
uh-huh.
And I can't remember. We chat about so many different things. I think we were playing a game. And again, there was like 25, 30 people in there just listening. And I just had to pop out to fill up my water bottle because I always got water with me. And I literally ran into the hallway, and in between me and like the bathroom where I get the water from, there was this huge, gigantic spider. And I don't think I've ever screamed as loud in my life in front of 30 people on Discord who heard me
Oh.
from a distance. And I was like, oh God, well done, Vince. You've made another good impression. So then I mean, I don't kill any bugs or anything. I just trap them and put them outside. But I armed myself. So in the background on the camera, you can see my keyboard. I've got an 88
Yeah.
key piano keyboard there that I play a lot. I
Mhm.
armed myself with that, so that if it came running for me, I would just put my piano
Just
in front of me, and that would be it. And then I trapped it with a cup and eventually threw it outside. But yeah, spiders, no, I don't like them at all. Not one single bit.
I totally agree with that as well. Cause like my brother, he's home right now. But that's because Corona, right? And he can't go to
Mhm.
his job. So I have him around to like help me when I have a spider. I'm just like, Michael, come here. Can you like kill this for me? Or like let it out. But I don't know what I'm gonna do without him. Cause I've like never killed a bug by myself. Like I don't know what I'm gonna do. But
Yeah.
I again just wholeheartedly agree with that as well.
I
Yeah.
love how you were so calm about that. You're like, Michael, please come and help me. I'd be like, Michael, there's a bug here. Come, quickly, I'm
Oh
about to die.
my
That would
God.
be me.
Definitely. No, I would wholeheartedly. I remember one time there was this huge, like really furry, one of the furrier spiders. Yeah, I know. So that one was more of like a Michael, come here. Like I was like a bit more scared, but yeah, I definitely agree again with that. I mean, my last question now for mindset is, what's the most important thing you think you learned in school?
So this coming back to what I said as well earlier is to always be true to yourself and be unique in everything that you do, and most important of all, be proud of yourself. And that's just not only is that how I feel and see things, I think everybody should do that, because you should always be proud of yourself, no matter what you do, even if you fail a test or anything like that. Be proud that you put in the effort and that you did things, and be proud of your failure, because even though you fail and you fall down so many times, it will motivate you to get up and try and try and try again. And that's such an important thing. I've failed so many different things in life. The amount of courses and things that I've failed is insane. Uh, but every single time, I just said to myself, like, listen, you can do this. You know that you can do this. So pick yourself up, and eventually it would be fine. Eventually, everything would fall into place, and it would all be good. And like, be unique as well. Make sure that you've got your own personal identity. So do what you do. Be you. That's literally that's just, it's so short. Be you. It's so important to just learn to be yourself and get yourself out there, because you are the best version of yourself. There's nobody else like you. There's literally, in the entire universe, there's nothing out there that is like you. You are unique in the entire universe, which is such a huge place. So be proud of that and make sure that you can get yourself out there.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of times people like mistake proud of like being arrogant, and like they're scared of being proud of themselves because like they're scared that they're going to be arrogant or come off too confident. But I think there's a totally different, or like there's a fine line between being proud of like yourself and being arrogant, you know? So I
Yep.
totally agree with that. And like with the uniqueness thing, I think that's something a lot of people have to realize too, is like not comparing yourselves to other people, especially with social media now. I think social media really kills your creativity and your uniqueness
Yes.
because, right, because you're comparing yourself to all these different people. Like, I just downloaded Pinterest, and I mean, it's cool to get inspiration, right? But sometimes I find myself comparing myself to all these different girls on there, or like even the way that, because I'm trying to get a more minimalistic bedroom that's still in the works, and transforming my bedroom. But seeing all these different things, I'm realizing like I'm trying to be something that I'm not, right?
Yeah.
Because like, oh, this is trendy now. So maybe I want to do that. But in reality, is that who I am? Is that really like my style, or is that really my personality? And so I would agree with that as well. Just being unique to yourself and being proud of yourself. Yeah. Um,
Exactly.
So my next questions are some more fun questions, and we'll get to a bit of brain teasers later. But I would love to know if you could be anywhere in the world right now, especially since you travel so much. Where would you want to be?
Oh, that's another one of those questions.
Yeah.
I was going to say because I love every single place. I often say to people with like one answer is like I could not choose simply because every single place is so unique. It's got its own culture. It's got its own absolutely wonderful, fantastic people and personality. But if I had to choose, I would probably at this moment say San Francisco, which is one of my absolute favorite places in the world. Just, oh, I've had so many good times there. The people are so friendly. The food is incredible.
Mm.
It's just such a nice place, such a great history, phenomenal nature. It's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. But this is not like going like, oh, there's, it's my absolute favorite because I don't have a favorite. I could not choose. There's too many places. Yeah. But yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. I think I've been looking into San Francisco now more because I'm thinking about going to UC Berkeley, possibly if I get in for school.
Hmm.
And obviously that's in San Francisco, basically, or very near that part. And yeah, I think San Francisco is just such a really multicultural place. And it's
Yeah.
so, yeah, there, like you said, there's so many amazing different cultures and food, and just like the vibe too is so unique. And I'm really excited to visit someday. But yeah, I would agree with that as well. My next question for you is, what's the last book you read, and what was it about?
So the last book that I read, and I've read this book about 200 times, but I just keep getting back to it. It's such an amazing book, is The Fault in Our Stars by John Green,
Mm.
which is quite possibly my favorite book ever written. And it's just it's if you can go through The Fault in Our Stars without crying, you're dead. You've got no personality whatsoever. It's it's such an amazing book. Just the storyline, it hits home. A lot of those things are so relatable and things that have happened to my in my own life as well. It's awesome. Yeah. Oh, I
Mhm.
love that book. If you've not read it, simply like pick it up, just get it.
Yes. No, definitely. I remember I like there was a phase in my life where I was obsessed with the Fallen Our Stars, and getting there was like t-shirts I think being made of like the quotes, on the book.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need to get one of those. And I was obsessed because it just pulls your heartstrings and you get so attached. So I would agree with that as well. I absolutely adore the Fallen Our Stars. And like going on, since I know the Fallen Our Stars, there's a movie. I would love to know what the best movie or even TV show that you've watched recently and what it was.
This is actually an interesting one. It might actually be a little bit surprising. It's something that came out yesterday of all times. I think yesterday or the day before, but it just captured me so much. Which is the new Netflix mini series, which is called Challenger: The Final Flight, which is about Space Shuttle Challenger, who, for people who don't know, Space Shuttle Challenger exploded in 1986, I think it was, something like that, long while ago. But Netflix just released a Netflix original relating to how it all happened, and you see the families and the people, the engineers and stuff behind it. And it's such, especially, I think it hits home for me because of aviation. And of
Right.
course, everything for us is focused on trusting other people, teamwork, and working together to create a safe flight, which is
Mhm.
such an important aspect. So I think that's why it hit home. But seeing those families and their reaction to, of course, their sons, daughters, wives, cousins, things like that, exploding in this space shuttle, and then seeing how it happened, and the fact that it happened just because a manager was being so arrogant. And so, like, no, we need to do this. It's incredible. It literally will blow you away. And I recommended it to a few of my friends, and they've all said the same thing. They were like, wow. It's like you the moment you start watching, it's 4 episodes, which are about an hour long each, I think it is. But you're so set in it. It's just phenomenal, and it's incredible. It really captures, like, wow, never be complacent with things like that, and how it really hits home.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this one scene in it, one of the very last scenes, where you hear the wife of the commander who is talking about him. And she literally said, like, yeah, I came back into the astronaut quarters after watching the shuttle explode in person. And I reached into my husband's jacket. And the first thing I found was 2 weeks early, a Valentine's Day card already in there for when it was back. And oh my God, it's giving me goosebumps again already. And you
Yeah.
just see her tearing up, like he had everything ready. He was so ready to come home. And that was the sort of person he was. And then the next scene, you see the guy who was in charge, who literally says, I have no regret about deciding to launch that day. I do not feel responsible for killing those 7 astronauts. And that's literally a moment like, whoa, that hits home, which is just immense. And I think that as well, for me, for personal growth, it's like, I don't ever want to be like that. I don't ever want to see anybody like that. I don't want anything to happen like such. If I've got colleagues or managers or anything who think that way, I will challenge them, and I will tell them, because you can see there the reaction, and it's just so heartbreaking to see it go from one extreme of this grieving widow essentially to this manager who just doesn't care. It's phenomenal. So yeah, Challenger, Final Flight, Netflix. I can 150% recommend it. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm,
Phenomenal.
definitely. I just had chills when you're talking about that because that's insane to me. Yeah,
I
I was
know.
like, wow, but I think that's so important, especially for people just to have empathy for, the grieving people and realize how some people have these mindsets, right? Where he literally didn't regret anything, even though this has caused so much of like a grief and um just really sadness for all these different people.
Yeah.
He doesn't realize this. And I totally relate with this because I remember I think month maybe ago or a few weeks ago, I watched this one Netflix documentary. I think I forgot what it was called, but it was about the ICE deportation officers in America, and it was documenting this, and it showed the actual immigrants that were being deported and the ones that were getting arrested, and even the children, right, that were being held in these
Yeah.
cages, which is insane to me because I used to always just hear about this, right? But then seeing the actual children and the people that were innocent, that were hardworking and didn't have any criminal records being arrested, and seeing their faces, that just
Yeah.
pulled so many heartstrings. And then seeing the officer in charge of like the whole ICE operation, he didn't even care about the people. He saw them as just numbers, right? He was like,
Yeah.
okay, I need 200 by today. And he didn't even care that these were actual people, hardworking people that came to America for a better life and that didn't have any like criminal record or any like gangs associated with them, and just ripping them apart like their families. That was
Yeah.
just insane to me. So I totally agree with this, and I think it's so important in this day and age to have empathy for these
Yeah.
people and to just kind of educate yourself, right? So yeah, I totally agree. Now going on to something more fun and like lighthearted, I would love to know like what you like to do for fun or just like in your spare time.
So one of the things I love doing is running. I run a lot. I love it, especially trail running in nature, and just, off the asphalt on no roads, and just going somewhere. Not even having a plan. And that comes into another thing that I absolutely love is I love just having a map of like my surrounding area, like the countryside around me, and closing my eyes. I just did that on camera, but I forgot we're on a podcast and I can't see. Nobody can see me. So yes, you close your eyes, and then you just grab a pin and you put it in a random place, and then you just drive there and go explore what's out there. Go walking, go seeing things. I love doing that. Not only do that here in the UK, but also in loads of my destinations. I will sort of look at, okay, what areas are safe that I can go to, because of course not every city is as safe as the other one. But yeah, I'll make sure that it's a safe area, and then I'll just put a pin in. I'll go explore that, and usually I go on foot as well. in most of these places because you can see so many things. So I love doing that, exploring things. And then when I'm there, I love taking loads of pictures of it. I love making videos because even still, even though I've not uploaded anything to YouTube, I've still made like personal videos just to sort of give myself a little bit of a lookbook in
Hmm.
the things that I do and the things that I have done in the past. So yeah, that's sort of what I tend to do for fun in my free time. Yeah.
Definitely. I love that spontaneity and like that spontaneous energy. I would love to just learn, more about how to become more spontaneous because I feel like I'm a definitely controlled and like reserved person, but I definitely want to become more spontaneous because one of the YouTubers that I watch, I don't know if you've heard of her, she's called Kelly Stamps. She's still kind of like new to YouTube,
Hmm.
but what she does, she's so spontaneous and just like totally herself, right? Unique to herself. And I think that's something that a lot of successful YouTubers have is that like they're so unique, right, to themselves. They're not
Yeah.
trying to copy someone. But a lot of her videos, she'll just spontaneous like travel. So she's from New York, but she literally just traveled to Boston just to get this cannoli that was like really famous or something in
Yeah.
Boston. I think that's so cool that she's just like, okay, you know what? I want a cannoli. Let's find the best place that has the best cannolis, and then I'll travel there. And
I
I think
love
that's
that.
so fun, right? And
Yeah.
spontaneous. So yeah, I love it. And my last question, it's going to be a brain teaser, but it's really fun and lighthearted, so it's not anything too bad. But so you're a new addition to the crayon box. What
Hmm.
color would you be and why?
Oh, that's a good one. Um, I would probably consider myself the color purple.
Hmm.
Not only because purple is my absolute favorite color in the world, but also purple for me is a very calm, stable color. You know, it's very strong and it's very nice. It just gives you this nice feeling everything's going to be okay. Everything is going to be fine. But at the same time, purple is this awesome color that can do so many different things. And it can literally, if you put purple around your room, it can transform it into something completely unique and something very, very cool. So that's why I think I identify myself most with the color purple is because I like doing things differently and my own
Mhm.
way and trying to find something unique. But at the same time, I want to give off this very calm, relatable, stable atmosphere. Yeah, that's what I
Mhm.
want.
Definitely. I think you explained it perfectly, and I think it would fit you perfectly, just the way that you explained it. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast, Vince. This was amazing talking with you, seeing all the amazing things that have happened throughout your flight attendant journey, and just learning more about you in general and your mindset. This was so much fun. I think listeners will gain so many new, insightful perspectives as well. So do you have any last like ending notes or any plugs for your YouTube channel, etc., anything like that?
Well, I want to start off with first thanking you for having me on. When you messaged me like, "Hey, could you be on the podcast?" I was like, "What? Someone wants to talk to me and interview me." So that was incredible. So thank you so much. It's really been an absolute honor and pleasure. And I think as well for everybody who's listening, thank you so much for making it this far. First of all, I don't actually
Mhm.
know if it was interesting what I said, but um, yeah, like it's just awesome, and I just want to leave the message that always be proud of yourself, do what you love. And yeah, if literally I'm on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all those little things. So if you ever need help or just want a bit of a pep talk or see what I'm up to, you're more than welcome to message me. And I think that's it. Sounds good.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, thank you so much again, and thank you for listeners that have listened this far. Bye.